expecting royal treatment, only to discover that sharp wit and brutal honesty don't bow to anyone. It only took one comment about freedom of speech for everything to explode. The studio audience settled into their seats. The familiar theme music faded, and the cameras went live. Bill Maher walked out to thunderous applause, that signature smirk already playing at the corners of his mouth. He knew this was going to be interesting. Prince Harry had agreed to appear on the show, supposedly to discuss his charity work and his new life in America. But anyone who knew Maher's style understood that softball questions weren't part of the game plan. "Welcome, welcome," Maher said, gesturing to his guest. "We have actual royalty on the show tonight. Please welcome Prince Harry." The audience clapped as Harry walked out, waving with that practiced smile, the one he'd perfected over decades of public appearances. He sat down across from Maher, adjusting his jacket, looking confident. Perhaps too confident. "Thanks for having me," Harry said. "Oh, the pleasure is ours," Maher replied, leaning back in his chair. "So, you've moved to America, you've stepped back from royal duties, you're living the California dream. How's that working out for you?" Harry nodded enthusiastically. "It's been wonderful, actually. The freedom here is incredible. Being able to speak my truth, share my story, live authentically. That's what America represents to me." "Your truth," Maher repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Interesting phrase. See, I always thought there was just the truth, not yours or mine. But hey, maybe that's old school thinking." A few audience members chuckled. Harry's smile tightened just a fraction. "Well, everyone has their own perspective," Harry said carefully. Sure, Maher agreed. "But let's talk about this freedom you mentioned. You've done, 17 interviews about how much you value your privacy? Doesn't that seem a little contradictory?" The audience laughed louder now. Harry shifted in his seat. "I think there's a difference between controlling your own narrative and having it controlled for you by the tabloids," Harry said, his voice taking on an edge. "Controlling the narrative," Maher mused. "That's an interesting way to describe writing a tell-all book, doing a 6-part documentary series, and going on every talk show that'll have you. That's a lot of control." "You don't understand what it's like," Harry shot back. "Growing up in that system, having every moment of your life scrutinized, having no voice of your own." "You're right. I don't understand that," Maher said. "I grew up in New Jersey. My dad sold insurance. We didn't have palaces or tiaras or servants. But here's what I do understand. You had a platform bigger than 99.9% of humanity. You could have used it quietly, done good work, made a real difference. Instead, you're on my show complaining about how hard it was to be a prince." The audience erupted. Some clapped, others whistled. Harry's face was reddening. "That's incredibly reductive," Harry said sharply. "Is it?" Maher pressed. "Because from where I'm sitting, you've spent the last few years doing exactly what you claim to hate. Seeking attention, courting the media, playing the victim. At some point, you gotta ask yourself, are you running from the spotlight or just trying to control it?" "This is exactly the problem," Harry said, his voice rising. "People like you mock anyone who talks about mental health, about trauma, about the real struggles people face." "Whoa, Maher interrupted, holding up his hands. "Don't put words in my mouth. I've talked about mental health on this show plenty of times. I think therapy is great. I think people should get help. What I don't think is that being born into wealth and privilege and then complaining about it endlessly makes you some kind of hero." "I never said I was a hero," Harry protested. "No, but you sure act like one," Maher countered. "You act like you're the first person to ever have family problems or a complicated relationship with your parents. Newsflash, everybody has that. The difference is most people don't get multi-million-dollar book deals to whine about it." Harry stood up slightly in his chair, then sat back down, visibly struggling to maintain composure. "You have no idea what I've been through," he said through gritted teeth. You're right, Maher said, his tone sharpening. I don't know what it's like to inherit millions, live in castles, have the world's best education handed to me, travel anywhere I want, meet anyone I want, and still find a way to be miserable about it. That must be really tough. This interview is ridiculous, Harry said. Now we're getting somewhere, Maher said, grinning. See, this is what happens when you actually get asked real questions instead of the soft-serve garbage you're used to. You don't like it. I don't like being disrespected, Harry snapped. Disrespected? Maher laughed. I'm treating you like I'd treat anyone else who came on this show. That's called equality. I thought you loved America because of the freedom and equality. Freedom doesn't mean being insulted, Harry said. Actually, it kind of does, Maher replied. That's the whole point of free speech. I get to say what I think, even if it hurts your feelings. Especially if it hurts your feelings. You don't get to police what people say just because you don't like it. There's a difference between free speech and being cruel, Harry argued. And there's a difference between being cruel and being honest, Maher shot back. You came to this country talking about how much you love the First Amendment, how much you value American directness. Well, congratulations. You're experiencing it. The audience was fully engaged now, leaning forward, sensing the tension building. I came here to talk about my charity work, Harry said, trying to redirect. Then talk about it, Maher said, spreading his hands. Nobody's stopping you, but you led with all this stuff about freedom and truth and your story. So I'm engaging with that. What's the charity? What are you actually doing? We're working on mental health initiatives, helping veterans, supporting communities that need it, Harry said quickly. That's great, Maher said. Seriously, that's good work. So why isn't that the headline? Why is it always about you and your feelings and your grievances? Why not let the work speak for itself? Because the media won't let it, Harry insisted. They only want to write about drama, about conflict. And yet, here you are, creating it, Maher pointed out. You're literally on television right now, arguing with me, making headlines. You could have said no to this interview. You could have stayed home. You chose to be here. I chose to be here to have a conversation, Harry said, not to be attacked. This isn't an attack, Maher said, his voice calm but firm. This is a conversation. You're just not used to anyone pushing back. Everyone treats you with kid gloves because of who you are, where you come from, but not here. Here, you're just another guest. And if you say something I think is nonsense, I'm going to call it nonsense. Harry's jaw clenched. You know what your problem is? You hide behind comedy. You say offensive things and then claim it's just jokes, just honesty. But really, you're just mean. Maybe, Maher shrugged. Or maybe you're just soft. Maybe you've been coddled your whole life, and the first time someone treats you like a regular person, you can't handle it. I've served my country, Harry said, his voice low and dangerous. I've been to war. Don't you dare call me soft. I'm not talking about physical courage, Maher clarified. I'm sure you're brave in that way. I'm talking about intellectual courage. Emotional courage. The courage to hear criticism and not fall apart. The courage to admit when you might be wrong. I'm not wrong about my own life, Harry said. Nobody said you were, Maher replied. But you're wrong about a lot of other things. You're wrong when you say you want privacy, but court publicity. You're wrong when you say you want to be normal, but constantly remind everyone you're a prince. You're wrong when you act like your problems are unique, when they're actually pretty common. My mother died because of the media, Harry said, his voice breaking slightly. You have no right to minimize that. The audience went quiet. Maher paused, and for a moment there was genuine sympathy in his eyes. You're right, Maher said softly. That was a tragedy, a real tragedy, and I'm sorry you went through that. Genuinely. But, and I say this with respect, you can't use that as a shield forever. You can't invoke your mother's death every time someone disagrees with you. That's not fair, and it's not honest. Harry stood up. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. Actually, you kinda do, Maher said, still seated, still calm. You agreed to come on the show. You're in the middle of an interview. Walking off because you don't like the questions is pretty childish, don't you think? Childish? Harry's voice was loud now, echoing through the studio. You've done nothing but insult me since I sat down. I've challenged you, Maher corrected. There's a difference, and the fact that you can't tell the difference is exactly my point. You think any criticism is an attack. Any disagreement is an insult. That's not how the world works. In my world, people have manners, Harry said. They have decency. In your world, people tell you what you want to hear, Maher countered. They bow and scrape and yes, sir, no, sir, whatever you say, sir. That's not respect. That's fear, or obligation, or tradition. But it's not real. And this is real? Harry gestured around the studio. You, sitting there, smug and superior, tearing me down for ratings. This is your version of real? Yeah, actually it is, Maher said, standing now to match Harry's energy. This is me, saying what I think, not filtering it through political correctness or royal protocol or fear of offending you. You want honesty? This is honesty. You don't like it? Welcome to how the rest of us live. The rest of you don't have photographers chasing your children, Harry shot back. No, we have real problems, Maher said. We have bills we can't pay, medical debt, kids in underfunded schools, jobs that don't pay enough. We don't have time to worry about photographers because we're too busy trying to survive. And you know what? We don't get to write books about it or go on speaking tours charging 6 figures to talk about our pain. So, because I have money, my pain doesn't matter? Harry demanded. I didn't say that, Maher replied. I said it's different. Context matters. Perspective matters. And from where most people are sitting, your life looks pretty damn good. That doesn't mean you don't hurt, but it does mean maybe you should think twice before positioning yourself as some kind of victim. I never said I was a victim, Harry insisted again. Your whole brand is victimhood, Maher said bluntly. Poor me, the media was mean. Poor me, my family didn't understand. Poor me, I had to grow up in a palace. Give me a break. Harry's hands were shaking. You're twisting everything I say. I'm taking what you say at face value, Maher said. If you don't like how it sounds, maybe examine what you're actually saying. I'm saying that mental health matters, Harry said loudly. I'm saying that trauma is real. I'm saying that just because someone has privilege doesn't mean they don't struggle. And I'm saying all of that can be true, and you can still be annoying about it, Maher replied. Both things can exist at the same time. You can have legitimate pain and also be completely tone-deaf about how you express it. This is pointless, Harry said, stepping back from his chair. Running away? Maher asked. That's your solution? I'm not running, Harry said. I'm choosing not to engage with someone who clearly has no interest in a real conversation. I'm having a very real conversation, Maher said. You're just not liking what you're hearing. There's a difference. The difference is respect, Harry said. Something you clearly know nothing about. I respect people who earn it, Maher said. I respect people who do good work and don't constantly seek validation for it. I respect people who face criticism without crying about it. You want my respect? Stop acting entitled. Entitled? Harry's voice reached a new pitch. You're calling me entitled? You, who built a career on being provocative and controversial, who makes millions saying whatever you want with no consequences? You're calling me entitled? Yeah, I am, Maher said, unflinching. Because I worked for everything I have. I started with nothing. I earned my platform. You were born into yours, and you're mad it came with expectations. That's the definition of entitled. I've worked my entire life, Harry protested. Doing what? Maher challenged. Ribbon cuttings? Photo ops? Charity galas where you show up, smile, and leave? That's not work. That's obligation. There's a difference. How dare you, Harry said, his face now fully flushed. How dare you diminish everything I've done? Everything I've tried to do. I'm not diminishing anything, Maher said. I'm putting it in perspective. Something you seem incapable of doing yourself. Harry grabbed his microphone and pulled it off, the wire tangling briefly before coming free. I'm done, he said flatly. Of course you are, Maher said, shaking his head. Can't handle the heat. Leave the kitchen. Very brave. Very mature. You know what? Harry turned back, pointing at Maher. You're everything that's wrong with this country. You think being rude is the same as being honest. You think tearing people down is the same as telling the truth. You're a bully with a platform, nothing more. And you're a privileged child who never grew up, Maher shot back. At least I know what I am. The audience was silent now, shocked, watching this unfold in real time. This show, this whole thing, it's toxic, Harry said, his voice shaking with anger. You don't want conversation. You want conflict. You don't want guests. You want targets. I want honesty, Maher said simply, and you can't give it because you don't even know what it looks like anymore. You've been living in your own head, your own narrative, for so long that reality feels like an attack. Reality? Harry laughed bitterly. Your reality is a television studio with a live audience and cameras. My reality is actual danger, actual threats, actual consequences for everything I say and do. Then maybe stop saying and doing so much, Maher suggested. Maybe just live your life quietly, do your work, and stop needing the world to validate your choices every 5 minutes. I don't need validation from you, Harry said coldly. Then why are you still standing here arguing with me? Maher asked. If you don't care what I think, leave. If you don't need validation, walk away. But you can't, can you? Because deep down, you do care. You care what everyone thinks. That's your whole problem. Harry stared at him for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. The anger was still there, but underneath it now was something else. Hurt, maybe, or recognition. You're not worth this, Harry said finally, his voice quiet but firm. Probably not, Maher agreed, but here we are anyway. Harry turned and walked toward the edge of the stage. The audience started murmuring, unsure what was happening, if this was planned, if they should react. Ladies and gentlemen, Prince Harry, everyone, Maher announced to the audience, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Came on the show, couldn't handle a few tough questions, and walked off. Very royal, very dignified. Harry stopped at the edge of the stage, his back to Maher. For a second, it looked like he might turn around, might come back, but then he kept walking, disappearing into the wings as the studio lights followed him. Maher turned back to the camera, that familiar smirk returning. Well, that went well, he said to the audience, and scattered, uncertain laughter rippled through the room. This is what happens when you spend your whole life being told you're special, and then someone finally tells you you're not. You can't handle it. The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay silent. Some did both. We all have problems, Maher continued, addressing the camera now. We all have pain. We all have family drama and complicated childhoods and things. We wish we're different. But most of us don't have the luxury of making that our whole identity. Most of us have to get up, go to work, take care of our responsibilities, and deal with it. That's called being an adult. He paused, letting that sink in. And look, I genuinely hope he figures it out, Maher said, and there was something almost sincere in his voice. I hope he finds peace, does good work, lives a happy life. But he's not going to get there by playing the victim. He's not going to get there by expecting special treatment. He's going to get there by doing what the rest of us do. growing up, taking responsibility, and moving forward. The audience clapped now, more confidently. When we come back, Maher said, transitioning smoothly, we'll talk about something less controversial, like Middle East politics or healthcare reform. The audience laughed, the tension finally breaking. We'll be right back, Maher said, and the lights dimmed as they cut to commercial. Backstage, production assistants scrambled. Harry was already gone, having left through a back exit, his security team surrounding him. Someone asked if they should try to bring him back, smooth things over. But everyone knew it was too late for that. In the control room, the director was already on the phone, knowing this clip would be everywhere within the hour. Social media would explode. News outlets would analyze every word. Think pieces would be written. Teams would be chosen. Back on stage, during the commercial break, Maher sat in his chair, sipping water. A producer approached, asking if he was okay, if that went too far. He came on my show, Maher said simply. He knew what kind of show this is. If he wanted softballs, he should have gone somewhere else. The producer nodded and walked away. The stage manager counted down. Back in 5, 4, 3. The lights came up. Maher smiled at the camera. And we're back, he said, as if nothing unusual had just happened. Now, let's talk about something really important. Did you see what happened in Congress this week? And just like that, the show continued. But everyone watching knew what they'd just witnessed. A prince who